When you write these things down and you put them on your website and they actually become a brand promise, you manage and lead your people to meet that standard.
I would say our sales process before was nothing that we were intentional about. Not being intentional kind of left a lot of room for a lot of mistakes. You know, we wanted him to be able to do the initial on-site consultation, which we now charge for. We weren't doing that before you guys. I think it drives away some of the leads only because it's qualifying them better. You know, our client doesn't feel like they're being sold to. You know, they feel like they're being taken care of.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Landscaper's Guide. Right now I'm in Dallas, Texas, or actually Grapevine, Texas, at the TNLA Hort Forum with Monty and Justin Theiss from Theiss Landscape Works. And we've worked together for several years. Super glad to have you guys on the show. So thanks for meeting up with me.
Thanks for having us, Jack.
So I was partly curious about your family history. I learned over dinner last night that your dad had a tree farm, and you were telling me one of the first dates with your now wife was moving some trees. So tell me a little bit about your background in the green industry.
Yeah, well, that date was about 36 years ago, probably. We've been married 35 years. And I grew up in the industry. My dad actually started the company when I was about 3 years old. And so we've been doing this, I've been doing all my life, and now Justin's been able to also grow up in the industry as well. And my dad retired in 1999, and that's when I took over the business. So it's just it's been a lifelong dream of mine to be a landscape business owner, I guess.
That's amazing. What did you think it would be like when you were a kid?
You know, I think I had a pretty good idea what it was going to be like because I remember my dad having me out there on the job site when the rake was way taller than I was, raking a yard. So I knew it was going to be a lot of hard work, and I guess it's all I ever really knew anyway. So I didn't know there was another way, honestly. So.
Is running it now like what you thought it would be like?
You know, no. Things have changed tremendously. My dad, the way he ran things, you know, essentially my dad was worried about how he was putting the next meal on the table, and that's pretty much all if you talk about goal setting and stuff like that, that was his goal, was to have enough food on the table for the family. And that's, you know, pretty literally speaking, I guess. My dad did landscaping, he did cleanup, he did farming, truck farming, and just anything he could get. He did grade work. He did everything he could get his hands on. He grew up as a farmer, and so I grew up just kind of with the same mentality. But over the years of owning the business and running the business, and then with Justin joined me after he got out of college, we decided, I've learned there's another way, and trying to grow and you know, expand the business and scale it. And so I've learned a lot. Just let me say that Justin has helped me learn a lot, and hiring, you know, consultants and people like Ramblin Jackson to help us with certain things have taught me a lot.
So what are some of your goals that maybe you're even surprised that you have now? That's something that, I mean, when I started, I actually was focused on next week. Like when I started my company, it was like, how do I make rent next week? So I didn't necessarily have a lot of goals beyond that. And then as my business grew, I was like, oh, I think I should have goals. And I didn't, you know, I hung out with people who had goals and achieved them, and that inspired me to set bigger goals. I never would have thought that I would run a marketing company in the landscape industry. We have 17 employees. I never thought that would happen, but it did become a goal a few years in. So I'm just curious, like, when you talk about goals, what are some things that are goals that maybe you're even surprised you have now at this point in your life?
Well, one thing, you know, we have an actionable business plan, and it includes, you know, financial goals. It includes, you know, revenue and profit and things that I never really, growing up, wasn't part of anything that we talked about. You know, we have now we're even looking at starting a nursery, and we have goals. We've set a lot of goals for that, new business plan for that as well. Talking about looking towards my retirement. I'm 59 years old, and my dad's 87, and he retired from landscaping in 1999, but just to start another company, another business. So he's still working at 87 years old. He goes to work. He'll tell you he works Wednesday through Saturday, but the honest truth is he works Monday through Saturday, and sometimes Sundays. And but now I can see a future of possible retirement for myself, and that's a goal that I never really thought much about, but I do think about it a lot now.
Well, so Justin, tell us a little bit about your background and what did you end up studying in college?
So I went to college at Brigham Young University in Idaho, and ended up getting a business management degree with an emphasis in entrepreneurship. That's kind of always been, grew up in a family of quite a few business owners and grew up around that. So kind of really has been my passion, is just business in general. Obviously, growing up in the green industry and around that ended up bringing me in that direction. Wasn't always my plans, that's for sure. But I'm glad I'm here. I'm excited about it.
Cool. Well, so tell me a little bit, for people listening, what all does Theiss Landscape Works do? And where are you based?
We are based in Northwest Houston. Our office is located in Hockley, Texas, which is just between Cypress and Waller. We're a design build firm, emphasis on residential. We are probably 50% new construction, 50% renovation / outdoor living type projects. We've started a new thing that we're calling Theiss Care. It's our kind of our foot in the door of maintenance. And that's pretty much sums us up. We're just getting into that. We also have currently about a 4-acre nursery. We're growing and expanding the nursery. We have pretty big plans with that, maybe even going retail. Our area is exploding in growth right now. There's, I think, 32 subdivisions going in just in the area within, a 20-mile radius of us, I guess, something like that. So we're expecting a lot of growth. We're hoping to maybe capitalize on that a little bit. So.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm excited about all that growth happening there. And I was just presenting today about all the growth in Texas. And in the last 4 years, Texas had the largest net population change of any state in the country. So people have been moving a lot since COVID, and things have changed. And Texas, and then followed by Florida, had the largest population change, and a lot that creates a lot of demand for landscaping and new development and new construction. And you guys are in an awesome location for all that growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe we are.
So I wanted to talk to you about sales process. Tell us a little bit, what was your sales process like before, and what were some of the problems that you had with it?
I would say our sales process before was nothing that we were intentional about. It was something that just kind of, it's the way we did things, and not being intentional kind of left a lot of room for a lot of mistakes, a lot of just being haphazard about it, I guess. We were kind of more along the traditional side of design build companies, where we had a designer who was also a salesperson, who also was a project manager, and we would hire several of those. And it kind of was just, it left, for one thing, it wasn't very scalable at all. And it didn't really work very well. It worked okay, but not anything like what we've seen now from the changes that we've been able to make.
So what were some of the changes that we made together? So we worked together on this, and what were some of what are you doing now?
Well, the first thing was just getting you guys in there and helping us be more intentional about what we were doing. Y'all helped us work through a few things as far as, how do we operate, and what are the things that were working well and what are things that weren't working well. We decided that, number one, we had a really good designer, my brother, who is a really top-notch designer, And we wanted him to be able to do as much of that as he possibly could, and continue to expand our revenue. So we came to the conclusion that we wanted him to be able to do the initial on-site consultation, which we now charge for. We weren't doing that before you guys. Matter of fact, we didn't think that was something that we would ever do, because we didn't feel like it would. We thought it may drive away clients, which I think it drives away some of the leads only because it's qualifying them better, which is something that helps us with our scalability. But now we have a customer success manager who handles the client, and it's more of I guess he's more of a salesperson. Our client doesn't feel like they're being sold to. Mm-hmm. They feel like they're being taken care of. And the design is their design because they're working directly with my brother, who is an awesome designer. And the customer success representative, all he's doing is helping that client be successful in their journey with us. And so there's some things that Justin may want to elaborate a little more on the details of it, but that's kind of sums up, I think, what we've come up with as far as our sales process.
Love it. Yeah, Justin, what do you want to add?
Well, as far as some of the things that you guys helped us learn and kind of develop, was one of the first things was actually our value proposition. What sets us apart from our competition. We were always kind of on the side of, quality, and we just work hard, and tons of experience, lots of in the office, between 4 different people, there's probably 100 years of experience, so that was, that's what we sell on. But it really helped us to dig deep and figure out who our ideal customer is and what it is that they're looking for, what do they want, and how do we provide that and market that, So we kind of came up with our honest agreement guarantee. We came up with our, industry-leading warranties, and it gives us something to live by. It gives us something to market, and it really does help us set us apart from the competition.
So do customers actually notice it, or is it just marketing stuff that we made up together? Or, do you really see a result, a change in how your customers perceive you and ultimately in sales?
That's a great question. I would say we do. I would say if we didn't do it right, then we probably wouldn't. It'd be easy to come up with these things and put it on the wall and it's wallpaper there, But we really do. We talk about it every day. Our customer success managers talk about it with the clients and different conversations that they have with them throughout the sales process, and then obviously, talking about it, we've got to meet the expectations that we're setting. Otherwise, we'd have who knows what, tons of bad reviews, unhappy clients.
Well, I like that part of it, because when you put these things, when you write these things down and you put them on your website and they actually become a brand promise, you manage and lead your people to meet that standard, and that, I think, elevates that, and then it is real and it does differentiate you from your competition. I was curious, Monty, what are some of the results that you've noticed?
Well, I definitely, we have several reviews that where the clients, they specifically praise our process and how communicative we are, and just the fact that they can really tell that we put a lot of effort and work into that process and making their buyer's journey something that is easy, that's not stressful. We have certain goals that we've set, and and those are part of it. We want to make sure that it's an enjoyable process. Getting your yard tore up and that whole journey sometimes can be, and getting it put back together again can be stressful. We want to make sure that they understand what's about to happen, when it's about to happen, how long it's going to take, and then they have confidence in us that when it's done, that they're going to be happy with it. And And so we've had a lot of good reviews based on just that, just the process itself. So.
Could you comment on what are some of the so you got some reviews from customers. What are some of the business results that you've noticed internally, like increased sales or close rate, or how do your people feel now? I mean, because when we got together, I don't know, you were feeling pretty stressed with sales and like it wasn't a process. How are you feeling? How is your team feeling about it now?
We definitely have seen a great improvement with our internally as far as anytime you make a change, especially in processes or whatever. I think initially you're going to get a little bit of pushback, and we did a little bit, but it didn't take very long for everyone to sort of realize how much benefit we're gaining from the changes, and then it makes it makes it easier for them too. It makes their job easier. And we're definitely in a place now where we're scalable. We don't see a problem with doubling our size, and staying within the processes that we have in place right now. So.
Well, one of the things I have to commend you on it in the project together was that you bought into it as the owner. Because sometimes I work with people and the owner doesn't buy into it, and they say, you manage Ramblin Jackson, and they're gonna go do this, and you manage them. And what happens is when there isn't owner buy-in, the rest of the company doesn't buy in. And sometimes we've worked with people where what they write on their website isn't actually how they operate. So I wanted to thank you guys for actually pulling your end of the deal. I mean, we work together, but you guys are really doing it. And then from a leadership standpoint, you're in on it. And one of the things that worked in the project was getting buy-in from the other people. You brought them not to every meeting, but there have been a few key meetings where some of your people came in and they had a little bit of say in it, and I got to work with them. And then we got as specific as we have scripts now for the first phone call when the phone is answered. So how has that been, for the person answering the phone?
It's been great. One of our person answering the phone, she had a little bit of pushback when it came to the charging for the initial consultation. But with the script and just a little bit more practice, she's very comfortable with it now. She doesn't have an issue at all with it. She understands it and she sees the importance of it. And we loved working with you guys when it came to, trying to develop that process, the actual sales process and the scripts. We needed that, and it's also helped us see now what type of customer success managers we need and how they need to react to the to the client and how we're going to better serve our client by using them. It was new to us, and so.
Great. Well, so what are some of your goals with the company next? Where are you guys taking the company?
We're definitely, pushing for a lot of growth. 4 years ago, if you would have said, set a goal of reaching $10 million a year in revenue, I never would have even dreamed of it. Now it's actually a dream that we have. That's kind of where we're wanting to go. We're expanding. We're looking at the retail nursery. We're growing a lot of our own plants and trees and shrubs that we use in the landscaping. We're trying to expand that. So we feel really good about our future. We feel good about what's going to happen, especially this next year with the economy, and especially in our area. So I don't think we're going to be held back by that at all. So.
Great. How are you feeling about the future, Justin?
Yeah, I'm super excited. For one, just the sentiment in general for the economy has been good, and things are looking good for our company. Honestly, before we made changes to our website, I'm sure I've told you this before, but 6 months before we started working with you guys, with Ramblin Jackson, we had gotten a brand new website built because we had kind of an antiquated website that was made in 19 or 2000, something like that.
Right.
Never been updated. And anyway, so I got it updated, and I was searching for price. I was trying to be conscious when it came to that, and went with somebody. The website looked great, and I didn't even really realize it then, but I realize now that it was not working at all. Not doing what it should be doing, and not doing the results that we're seeing now. We've recently seen, one of the big issues that, green industry in general, a problem or, a challenge that we sometimes face is the seasonality of the work that we have, and it's still there, but we've had our biggest December that we've ever had in the history of the whole company. Matter of fact, December was one of our biggest months. I mean, it was right along with the biggest months of the rest of the whole year. And then January is looking pretty decent. And a lot of it is leads that are coming in through our website. And just seeing that and knowing what's coming, in the springtime when normally things are very busy, it's pretty exciting.
Well, that's amazing. I had forgotten that story. I didn't realize the website was that new. But now that you say that, I remember I was making a video about your website, and I had to tread lightly because I knew that. But it's been a few years now since we did that. But yeah, I was like, oh, they just redid this? Bad news, guys. So that's never fun to hear that. But I appreciate the trust and working with us, and I'm excited for all the growth you guys have going on. And the seasonality thing, I mean, we can't make it go away, but what happens is when your internet presence grows, the gap between the peaks gets shorter. Meaning, like, if you were getting most of your stuff word of mouth before, and you're not getting referrals that time of year, and now you have this second source of lead generation that's working for you, it can make those winter months a little more tolerable. Yeah. All right, well, Monty, Justin, thank you guys for coming on the show. We'll put a link to theisslandscapeworks.com in the show notes. Is that the best place? If people want to network with you who are in the industry, what's the best way of reaching out to you guys?
Yeah, that's a great way, yeah. It's just our office number's there. Call Carla. She'll give them any information they want. So.
Yeah, Carla's awesome. And so we're doing a marketing campaign that I'm excited about this, where we're telling people you're going to have a call with Carla. I'm like, hey, let's include Carla in this, because you guys run. One of the things I wanted to comment on before we end the show is that you were hesitant about charging for the consultation. You weren't sure if people would do it. One, you did it, and then two, you have a customer success manager. I like that job title, because as a customer, who doesn't want a customer success manager? But you also said, and he does sales. But when you give somebody the sales title, it puts up resistance from the customer, whereas they're paying, and now they have a customer success manager, and they, like you said, they feel like they're taken care of. That's how it should feel when you have your sales process dialed in for the customer. So you guys are doing a lot of things right, and thanks again for coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and if you did, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly sales, marketing, and leadership content to grow your landscape company. I'm Jack Jostes, and I'll see you in the next video.